Loaded in. All right. Everybody needs a little tunage. Whoa, jeez. We just jumped from like 0 to 44 people. Holy moly, look at that. Woo.
What was the song?
Yeah, everybody wants to hear Paul. Who wouldn't want to hear Paul, you know? Gotta hold on to the colors. $45. Oh, got another one. Already getting some questions. Man, they're lighting up the questions already, everybody. So, all righty. No one really wants to hear me sing. You can hear Paul sing, but nobody really wants to hear me. Hi, everyone. Welcome once again. Wednesday night webinar. Part of a NoCD thing that we do. NoCD, a downloadable app. You can get on Google Play or iOS. Reach out to us on our therapy finder there, or come to nocd.com if you're looking for teletherapy across the country here in the US of A. But we're also in the Canada as well. You may have heard of it. And Australia, or Oz, as they like to call it down there when I visit it, and the UK as well. So very exciting stuff. Tonight with me, I have one of our child and adolescent supervisors, Tracie, Ibrahim. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
How are you?
I am thrilled to be here. I love talking about OCD.
I know you do. You talk about it a lot. So
I do. I also have it. So that makes it even more special. I think about it.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that, what it's like to be a therapist that has OCD as well, too. I think that's interesting and inspiring for a lot of the people here tonight who sometimes feel like, oh my gosh, they have OCD and I don't know how I can live the rest of my life with this and all that kind of stuff. And you've been able to take it and turn it into a career. And
yeah.
And that's not saying OCD doesn't ever bother you ever again. Right?
Oh no, it bothers me all the time. Not a lot, but sometimes, and sometimes more than others.
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about that. But, I'm glad you're here, especially with Debbie's question right here at the beginning. What kind of support or training might parents get with NoCD? Thank you for all you're doing. I love these videos. Well, isn't that perfect timing? Because, boy, we have been talking this week all about parent training and things that we want to do with NoCD. So you want to talk about that a little bit, Tracie, and some of the stuff? And I'll chime in as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you can expect, just kind of generally speaking, when you bring your child into NoCD for help, is you can expect to be an active part of their therapy. You attend sessions where you learn about what kinds of things you should do as a parent, what kinds of things you should not do as a parent, things that make OCD better, things that make OCD worse. You have a support through a direct messaging with the therapist who's working with your child. You can set up a phone call to talk to that therapist, make sure they're a good match before you select your therapist. If you feel like that's something that you would like to do. We are in the process, actually, next week we'll have a video being recorded. So it'll be in the next couple of weeks or so out to send to parents who are interested in bringing their kids in. That'll talk all about what to expect. What does ERP for children look like? Maybe you have a child with special needs. How does that change it? Does it change it? What else do we do? All of those kinds of things. So I think we have a very supportive.
Right. And we also know that for parents and for loved ones, sometimes there's a member in the family who has OCD who just doesn't want to get treatment. We're going to open up that our therapist will be able to work with you just to help coach you on what are some things that you can do at home to make your home less OCD friendly, shall we say. Now, not that we want to torture the person with OCD. That's not anything that we're talking about, but we can also teach you how to not accommodate the OCD to the level that you might be accommodating it, and to start shaking things up a little bit so that maybe that will help to inspire the person with OCD to finally reach out and get some help, because suddenly the OCD is no longer going to be running the household. I remember I got a call a couple of years ago from a mom who said, well, my daughter gets very angry if we bring any friends over. We're not allowed to do that. All of us can only use one bathroom in the home. She can only use the other one. And if any of us break any of her OCD rules, she punches holes in the wall and she slams doors and breaks things. And I said, so your daughter's in charge of your household? And she's like, no, I'm in charge of my household. I said, think about that for a minute. And she did. And she's like, damn, my kid is in charge of my home. And I said, well, it's not even your kid. It's your kid's OCD is in charge of your home. And so parents have to kind of decide who's running the house, right? Who's in charge around here? And are we all being held hostage by the obsessive compulsive disorder? So, Tracie, I know with your family, you've dealt with this too. And how do, maybe some advice for people of just, how do you work that in with your family? Because I've always appreciated that you're very open about things in your own life and family and how you work with that. So.
Yeah, sure. So a good deal of my family has OCD. They always knew they had it. It wasn't something we necessarily went and treated for some odd reason. We were just like, haha, grandma has OCD. Haha. Those of us who have it, have it. We didn't think it was too funny, but we just knew we had it, right? Not very helpful. But the number one thing you can do is try and get the person, of course, into treatment, into some good ERP treatment, which is difficult to find, which is why I appreciate an OCD existing, because that is exactly what we provide. I think that having kids, I have kids with OCD, or adults now, it's hard. It's hard when a loved one wants to come to you and they're asking you to do all these things to make their OCD easier for them. I want to have my special bathroom. I only want to use this fork. Do you love me? Do you love me? I want to say goodnight to you 20 times. Okay, but wait, come back. You didn't say goodnight to me again, right? Whatever it looks like in your house and how it's pestering you. I think like Dr. McGrath was saying, we're not trying to be mean, but that's the treatment for OCD, is doing the opposite of what OCD is telling you to do. So I'm a big fan of pushing that. I know when people in my household move things out of order or put something in a way that bothers me, that's my problem. That's my problem, and I'm going to deal with it myself. It's not my family's problem. It's not my family's job to keep my OCD comfortable. It's my job to treat my OCD and keep it manageable myself, and for my family to make sure they're not doing anything to make it worse. And so it's a tough line to toe. Sometimes you feel mean telling your kid, no, I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question, and I'm not going to provide it. It's not good for you, A lot of empathy. I like to provide a lot of empathy and no sympathy.
No. Emily says she's going on vacation in a couple of days and she's scared her OCD will get worse. Well, what can we almost guarantee that OCD is going to do is take advantage of the fact that you're going on vacation and try to ramp itself up, right, Emily? Now, does that mean OCD is getting worse, or is it OCD being the jerk that it is and taking advantage of the fact that now that you're worried and concerned about something, it'll be like, well, in that case, I should probably jump in there and take advantage of the fact that you're worrying and you're leaving a space open for me to be able to do such a thing. She feels like she won't have a good time because of it, and is also concerned about if anxiety will flare up when you stop ruminating or Googling or doing compulsions. Yes, it will. And there's a reason, because when you stop ruminating and Googling and doing compulsions, you stop doing your safety behaviors. And Tracie, what happens when we stop our safety behaviors?
Yeah, our anxiety goes right out the roof for about a minute, or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or an amount of time that passes. So we can expect it to come. When we put our safety behaviors aside, our compulsing, anxiety will try and knock, OCD will come knocking on a different door. That's what happens.
But Emily and Tracie, I'm going to ask both of you. Emily virtually, Tracie in real life. Has OCD ever told you the truth?
It has never told me the truth, and it has never given me an answer or a question that I could answer. Nothing valuable. It's always worst case scenario. It's always the bad thing, the worst option. nobody loves you, that's dirty, whatever it is. Those aren't all my themes, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Lee says, good evening. I'm hoping to learn if those who have OCD often have trouble making and keeping plans due to all they are dealing with internally. Would love some perspective on this topic. Thank you. Hey, Tracie, you want to take that one?
Sure. So when you are not on the other side, on the recovery side of OCD, I could see that getting in your way. I don't let OCD get in my way. I do all the things that I need to do and I want to do, and I let OCD run in the background. I have always thought of OCD like being in a movie theater where I'm always the star. It's always some kind of horror film, and I didn't buy the tickets to go there. Okay, so I think about it like whatever's happening, it's happening to me. It's not because of me. I didn't buy the tickets to this. I don't want to see what's happening. I don't want to listen to what's happening. So I just let it run in the background and I go on with my life. That's what somebody who's been through ERP and a recovery process with OCD, that's how OCD can look. You live your daily life. I wake up, I say, okay, well, you want to harass me today? That's fine. I'm going to go do my life anyway. You can run in the background like the bad movie that you are.
Yeah. And I think the other piece too is that, remember this, one of the reasons it might be difficult to keep plans is because OCD throws doubt in every step of every plan. And so now it's not just a plan, it's a plan with having to pause and take a thought about the next step that you're going to take. I mean, imagine walking being, okay, now lift your right foot up, now put it forward, now place it back down, now lift up your left foot, balance more on your right foot now so that you can swing over and bring your left foot back over. That'd be excruciatingly difficult to do all day long if that's the way that we had to walk. But that's how OCD is when it throws itself into your plans. Hey, did you think this through enough? What about all the possible things that could go wrong with this step? Maybe we should spend the next hour contemplating what those might be and coming up with a solution to all of them so that if any of them do actually happen, you'll be fully prepared and ready to deal with them if that's the case, right? Sounds like a crappy vacation to me, right? Not anything that we want to do.
Nope. Yeah, don't let OCD steal your life from you. Don't let OCD, don't believe that it changed who you are as a person or what you care about or what you don't care about. You're still that person.
Right. Kayla says, hey, Dr. McGrath. Hey, Kayla. Can you give ideas for responding to rumination, good distraction versus bad, snapping the rubber band on your wrist? How can you tell if you found something that's working? All right. I'm so glad you brought this up, Kayla, because I've been talking about this a lot lately, but I think that it's an important thing. What is distraction? Distraction is purposely doing something so that you don't sit in the discomfort that you're having. What is living your life? Living your life is doing things you would normally do even though you're uncomfortable and allowing yourself to feel the discomfort while you're doing it. There's a fine line there. If you are about to go to work and you have an obsession, you could do a couple of things. You could do the compulsion and then go to work. And maybe even if it's still there on the way to work, listen to the radio really, really loud so that it tries to drown out what it is that's going on in your head. And maybe take an anti-anxiety medication to try to drown out the feelings that you're feeling or something like that. All of those things are distractions. Or you could be about to go to work and have an obsession and be like, all right, obsession, I accept you as you being there. Now I'm going to go drive to work. And then when I get to work, I'm going to do my work. And I'm not going to take that pill that I want to take because it would feel so great to do. And if I listen to anything, I'm just going to listen to it because I want to. I'm not going to do it at loud, huge volumes, ridiculous, or anything like that as a way to drown you out. I'm going to accept that you are a passenger in the car with me. I'd prefer you'd sit in the trunk and hopefully asphyxiate yourself, but we'll get there at some point in time. But I realize that you're traveling with me and that's the way that it's going to be, but I'm going to live my life even though you're there. Now, I give an example a lot. I have tinnitus, right? Or tinnitus, as some people call it. I am always hearing a sound that nobody else in the world hears. So to me, it sounds as if somebody has walked into a large church, gone to the big organ up in the balcony, has turned it on, and then put a rock on the highest pitched note on that organ, and has decided to walk away for the rest of their life and let that note play constantly forever for the rest of your life. And I have heard that sound for the last 20 years. I have never had a moment in 20 years where I haven't heard that sound. It does not exist. I cannot tell you anymore what silence is because I can't even remember what silence is. And I've lost the concept of what silence is because I don't ever experience silence. Now, imagine if I woke up and I was about to come downstairs here to my office and I said, you know what? I can't go down there to the office until the tinnitus goes away. So now I'm going to go online and I'm going to do a bunch of research on all these snake oil medicines that people keep selling, saying that it's a cure for tinnitus. And I'm going to buy all these weird implants and different things that people say are going to be helpful for tinnitus. And I'm going to meditate and I'm going to pray and I'm do all these other things for my tinnitus to go away. I would never come to work if that was the case. I have worked for 21 years. 20 of them have had tinnitus, right? It just is there all the time. So you know what? I travel with tinnitus, and I'm asking all of you to do the exact same thing. Travel with your OCD, but just because it's there doesn't mean that it has to stop you or get in the way. There's one difference that Tracie and I have. I hear a sound. She hears words or sees images or has urges. That's the difference.
And we both going to work.
Right. But both of us are plagued with something that's consistently running in the background, right? We just have different ways that we experience it. Would you add anything to that, Tracie, about distraction and everything?
No, I think that it's something that people get very confused about.
Yeah.
I give the example, if I'm shopping, and this happened to me the other day, I was shopping, I had to use a public restroom. Those usually trip me up a little bit because they're gross. And because I have OCD, and this one was very gross. And I walked in and I kind of froze because there were no paper towels. And I went, oh no, you'll have to touch everything. And I said, yes, you will, just like everyone else. And my anxiety was up here and I was like, well, maybe you could just hold it. Well, do you want to hold it? Is that what normal people do when they have to go to the bathroom and then they enter a bathroom? Do they then leave the bathroom? No, that's weird. Okay, go to the bathroom and stop thinking about it. Just touch all the things. Go to the stall. Each step felt very difficult. I did all of the steps. I went out the door and I kept shopping. I gave that example to somebody earlier and they said, well, weren't you distracting yourself by shopping? And I said, well, no, I wasn't going to go sit in a chair and just wait for the anxiety to pass. The store might close. I don't know how long this is going to last. I'm in the middle of shopping. I just had to go to the bathroom. I can't help it that triggered extra difficult shopping for me, but I'm going to shop and I'm going to have anxiety up to here and I'm going to feel like I'm going to choke on it and that I'm dying of probably 50 diseases from the bathroom, but it's going to be in the back of my head and I'm going to do school shopping. And when I'm done with school shopping, I'm going to get in the car and I'm not going to use hand sanitizer because I want to keep this going and I'm going to drive all the way home. You know, that's what you got to do. You just got to keep going. And you have to make OCD uncomfortable. You have to make OCD more uncomfortable than it makes you. Right.
Now, you could have added all sorts of safety behaviors there. You could have gone and found the manager and said, hey, you're all out of paper towels and I demand hand sanitizer. I want one of you to wash my hands for me and please spritz something on them. You could have called someone while you were shopping, be like, oh my God, this was the worst experience ever and I can't believe it, to try to, but no, you got out of the bathroom and you went back and you continued doing what you needed to do. That is not distraction. That is living your life, even though OCD is with you. Okay.
Absolutely
so
right.
I hope that's abundantly clear to everybody that when you're going and doing the things that your life needs you to do, you're not using distraction. You're living your life. But when you're adding things on top of what your life needs you to do, that's potentially where you're going down the road of distraction. Or when you're not doing them because OCD's there, that's a avoidance technique as well. So just, we always have to watch out for the safety seeking behavior, right? How can we not utilize safety seeking behaviors and allow ourselves to live our life, even though OCD is along for the ride. Teaching to the choir says, Tracie, come back to mom group. We miss you. It's not the same without you, just so you know. So
it's this guy's fault. No, I'm just kidding. It's really not. Sorry. I'll make a new one when I can. I miss you. I miss moms too.
All right. Mimi says, how do you deal with an obsession about having a legal fetish? I keep on analyzing my childhood to find proof it's real. And then my POCD makes, and then we lose it. So I'll just go with, it's related to something like that. So let me see if I can pick it up anymore. No, that's all we got. So how do you deal with an obsession about having a legal fetish? Oh.
Legal fetish? A fetish about doing something illegal, like having pedophilia?
No, legal, not illegal. L-E-G, legal.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Okay.
What is a legal fetish? It's that you're afraid that you're going to not.
A male who might really like women's shoes and find that they get turned on by them.
Oh, you're talking about just your run-of-the-mill fetishes. You have a fetish and you want to know if that's bad?
Yeah.
No. Usually it's not a problem. So as a side note, I also do, I'm a certified sex therapist. I deal with fetishes all the time. And I'm like, oh, you have a fetish. Do you enjoy it? Great. Next question. Oh, does it cause you problems? Oh, well, that's a problem.
Well, then we'll talk about it, right?
Yeah, that's what I say. Don't worry if other people think it's a problem. Worry about it if you have a problem with it. Not because you judge yourself, but we're all different. We all like different things. Some people like legs, some people like eyes, some people like whatever.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's all good.
As we're a third of the way through, we'd like to remind everyone you're listening to the NoCD Wednesday night webinar. Wednesday night webinar brought to you by NoCD. NoCD, a downloadable app you can get on Google Play or iOS. Reach out to us at www.nocd.com or treatmyocd.com. We have openings for teletherapy across the U.S., and we're also in Australia, Canada, and the U.K. as well. We hope to hear from you. Josh says, any advice from you two about managing OCD from home, away from home while at school? I'm going back to college soon in a foreign country, and I'm nervous about how my OCD will adjust to change. Well, we know this. Change is a stressor. OCD loves stressors and loves to take advantage of stressors and to say, hey, Josh, guess what? I have a great remedy for you to make sure that this transition to another country and school will go smoothly. Do everything I tell you to do, and all will be well. Which is, of course, total bullshit, just so you know. All right, that is just crap and garbage that OCD tells you, but it definitely wants you to do what it wants you to do because it tells you that it knows everything that you need to know.
Yeah. You just go to college and you just do it. I had OCD in college. It wasn't treated yet at the beginning of my college. It got treated much later, right after grad school. So, yeah, I went through the whole thing. Yeah. And you know what? I told myself? I moved out of state, which was not as bad as moving out of, I guess, as far, I should say, as moving out of the country. But, your OCD is exactly the same OCD, no matter where your head travels. Don't get scared and think it's going to become a foreign, rendition of your OCD that you have never seen and can't handle. Your OCD will always change. It might change. It might not change. It will always have a flare up and a flare down and a good and a bad. And you just have to be prepared to know you have a big move. You're moving out of the country to go to a school. So there's a flare up, prepare for it. It's going to probably have a flare up. I'd
rather have USA OCD than Irish OCD or something like that. I mean, there can be cultural differences in terms of some cultures have different things they focus on, are more concerned about than other cultures. So there can be that, but otherwise OCD is OCD wherever you are. Right?
Yep. Yeah. Don't let it scare you. No matter where you're going or what you're doing or what you want to do in your life, just go do it.
Matt says, how do you deal with existential religious OCD? I have an obsession that I did something here that might have sent a family member to hell who passed away. Sounds ridiculous. Yep. But so scary. Hard not to care. Matt, I'll ask you one question. I want you to think about this, Matt. would there be an answer that any single person in the entire world, from the Pope on down to some random person off the street, that could give you that would say your family member is safe in the holiest of holy places in their afterlife, and you have nothing to worry about? In fact, I've even sometimes joked when I've worked with people who have scrupulosity, and I always make sure I've got a good relationship with them before I go this route, but I always say to them, I'd bet you this, your higher power themselves could show up here in this room in the flesh and say to you, Matt, I promise you, your loved one's up in heaven or Valhalla or wherever with me. And Matt, your response would be, are you sure? Really? Are you 100% positive? You're not pulling my leg? Because there's no way to convince your OCD, no matter how much you want to research it, that it's actually true or real. And that's the hard part, Matt, is to accept the fact that just because your OCD tells you this does not make it real or true. Okay. And just because there is a possibility of something does not give you a high probability of something. Right? Tracie, I had something similar about 3 months ago. Someone said they were afraid that they weren't sure if they could sell their soul or not. And I invited every evil demon or whatever to the webinar at the end to join me, and that I would auction my soul off at the end of the webinar. Nobody showed up. So yeah. So I don't know, maybe my soul, I don't have one maybe, or it's very worthless to anybody, or these kinds of things just don't happen. But OCD tells us they could happen. And we believe it because when you have OCD, the what if rationale and reasoning becomes reality-based reasoning and rationales, right?
Yep. But you try and run any facts through anything OCD is telling you, you're going to have a hard time.
Mama Bear Tammy, this one looks like good for you. It's said that OCD has controlled me since childhood. It was so bad a few days ago to the point I was done, but still my OCD was controlling me. I don't want to do it and make a mess. These are tough points. And I think for you also, Tracie, as a mom and a person with OCD and everything, could probably sympathize with what she's saying there, right? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think it's hard. A lot of times people suffer for a long time before they even know it's OCD. So the way that you initially reacted to the thoughts you were getting, the weird things you do, and how you thought about yourself and why you do those things, then you find out you have OCD. It's really hard. I've had OCD for about 41 years. And, it's been under control for about 16 or 17 years. And what I can say is if your OCD is controlling you, then go fast and hard towards some ERP treatment, because that is the thing that's going to get you some relief. Don't go to the wrong kind of treatment, because it will make it worse. Go get you some ERP, because that's how we get relief. It's not easy, but it's easier when you get to the other side of it, and it's well worth the journey.
Why, whenever I cry now, when my OCD started, my mind says, you're faking your emotions and you're actually a horrible person? Well, because OCD is about doubt. So if to you, one of the worst things you could ever potentially do would be to fake your emotions and be a horrible person, OCD is going to go, well, what if you are faking your emotions and you are a horrible person? I mean, wouldn't that be awful or horrible? Maybe we should check and assess to see if you actually are or not. Let's spend the next 17 hours or so going through that just to find out. Right? Tracie, have you ever heard an OCD that says, you are not faking your emotions and you're absolutely a wonderful person?
I have not. After thousands of patients out there, I can't say I've had a single one that got a good answer or a positive message. Nope.
Me neither. So, nor does anyone I know who's ever treated OCD. We've never once had an OCD of someone showing up to our office and says, hey, Dr. McGrath, I'm afraid everybody loves me and thinks I'm awesome. No one has been treated for that.
No.
No. It's always the what if worst case scenario that we jump onto and go, but what if? Yeah, but what if? Jen says, my OCD feels so bad that it can't be fixed. I'll disagree with that. I'm signed up to start therapy, but I worry that my therapist won't be able to help me. What advice can you offer me? Well, I'll give you one, but Tracie, I'd like to hear from you on that one as well too. But I'll just say this. Know that OCD will try to interfere with OCD treatment. Just be ready for that. I'm just going to throw that one out there. So Tracie, what would you throw?
I think that's one of the most common things. The most common things you hear when people are about to start some good OCD treatment. Your OCD is so bad it can't be fixed, right? That's a common OCD thing you'll hear. Or you'll hear, I don't even think you have OCD. You're just a genuine bad person. Ooh, swallow that, right? Yeah, the world is just disgusting, and now you know it. Why are you going in to get treatment? Don't go get treatment. This is real. You're trying to save your life here. You know, it will do everything to talk you out of getting treatment. It doesn't want you to get treatment. It doesn't want you to get better. So push back, push back. There's no such thing as OCD that's so bad that it can't get fixed. We say fixed, you know, there's no such thing as fixing OCD. If there's no cure for OCD, we make it manageable. It gets to different levels of manageable, right? How manageable can you make it? More manageable than it is now. That's how much more manageable. I don't know. Go work on it and find out what your best manageable OCD possibilities are. There are people that have their OCD quiet for hours, days, months, years, weeks. And there are people that suffer with it every day, but it's tolerable and they go on with their life.
Yeah. But you got to give it a try. So I'm glad that you're signed up for treatment, and all the best to you. Louisa says, how important is the theme when doing ERP? Not really.
Like, nah.
It doesn't matter to me what your theme is. I'm going to do ERP, and I'm going to design ERP around whatever kind of OCD you're experiencing, but it's always going to be the same. And maybe the problem is with this is that sometimes people will say, well, I worked on my contamination OCD, but I have no idea what to do with my sexual orientation OCD. Well, yeah, you do. You do ERP. You still apply all the same ERP principles to the sexual orientation OCD as you did to the contamination OCD. You just got to apply them, right? You still got to expose yourself to things. You got to do response prevention. You got to sit with discomfort and recognize that you can handle it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that, you know, OCD, it's all connected. You know, when you start doing exposure and response prevention in one area, all of your areas are going to start to improve and make it easier to work on all of your areas. You know, when you start compulsing in one area, all your areas get worse. Everything's connected. It's all coming from the same place. There's one part in your brain that's spitting out crazy messages at you, and we treat them all the same.
Yep. Robin says, if you feel uncomfortable telling family and friends the theme of your OCD, for example, if it's sexual, is that a bad thing? I do have quite a bit of shame and guilt because I feel like I'm hiding a secret. Well,
yeah.
What makes it a bad thing if you're uncomfortable telling people something? I don't tell my friends and family everything or that I think or feel. I'm wondering if I should feel bad about that. Now, let's talk about shame and guilt, though. A lot of times people think about OCD and they think it creates anxiety, but it doesn't just create anxiety. It creates guilt and shame and disgust and all those things. So are you hiding a secret? Well, yeah, maybe you are, but so what? Why does everyone have to know all the intrusive thoughts or images or urges that you have? In fact, sometimes people go the opposite way. Sometimes people with relationship OCD want to tell their partner every single thought they have. Like if Tracie and I were married and I would say to Tracie, I want to apologize to you. I saw a very attractive woman today and her butt looked great in the yoga pants you had. And I looked at it and I want to apologize for you for having looked at another woman's butt today. Now, Tracie, if I said that the first time, might be like, whatever. The 975th time, she'll be like, listen, shut up. I don't want to hear about it anymore. You're driving me nuts. Leave me alone, right? Go away. And if you keep telling me this, I don't know that I can be around you anymore. So we don't have to share everything with everyone, right? Even if you don't have OCD, you don't share everything with everyone. So why, if you have OCD, do you suddenly have to do that? That doesn't need to happen.
That's absolutely right. One of the things I focus on in my sexual content OCD support group on the NoCD platform is
cheers to that.
Cheers. Yeah. We talk a lot about reducing stigmas around sexual content OCD. Just because it's sexual content doesn't make it scarier or worse. It's just, in general, people don't like talking about sex and sexual things, even if it's outside of OCD. So it just feels a little extra. You know, there's no reason, I think, to feel ashamed if you want to share. If you want to share and you want to provide information for people, you can go on the NoCD website, and we have lots of different resources on there where you can share what your subtype is. You can share just information about OCD. You can just share, I have OCD. You don't have to say what kind. It's nobody's business. You can tell them all of the kinds. And I encourage people, don't feel ashamed. You know, you don't have to, I don't tell everybody everything. Everybody doesn't get to know all of my business. That doesn't make sense. You don't have to be an open book. Sometimes OCD is telling you to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
So one time at Alexian Brothers, the behavioral health hospital that I worked at, if you need an IOP or PHP, they are virtual. And they have the Foglia Family Foundation Residential Treatment Center. They have openings. So if you're looking for residential, good place to check out. But one time when I was there, over the course of the day in the partial hospital program, 4 different people came up to me and said that their OCD was the worst OCD that I had ever seen as a clinician. So what I did at the end of the day is I pulled them all together in a group, and I sat down and I said, okay, each one of you have tried to convince me today that your OCD is the worst OCD I've ever seen. Only one of you can actually hold the truth to that statement. Please fight it out with each other and pick which one is actually the worst and then present it to me. And it eventually led to a great discussion about what a useless waste of time it was to try to think about how awful or horrible my OCD is when I could be spending time focusing on what can I do about it, right?
Yeah.
And that was so very important for all of them to realize. The other thing, I don't know about you, but OCD groups, I always love when the new person with OCD comes in and another person's talking, and that new person leans over to the person next to him and says, I wish I had that kind of OCD, because that would be really easy to deal with, right?
Yes. That is so common. Everybody
says that one. If only I could have that kind of OCD. Why can't I have that kind of OCD? Well, the answer is very simple. Because that kind doesn't bother you. That's why. That's why you don't have OCD about it, because it doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
You can't have OCD about something that doesn't bother you.
And when you're bothered, one bother is just as much as the next bother. You know, I tell people, somebody said that to me the other day. Well, it would be so easy if it was a hand washing thing. I just wouldn't wash my hands. I said, yes, but just as desperately as your pedophilia OCD is bothering you, so is that person who desperately thinks they're dying of a disease because they're not washing their hands. It's just as scary. It's just as intense. So don't think that some OCD is just a lot easier than the other OCDs. You know, it's absolutely not true. OCD is OCD. It's difficult. It's mean. It's treatable with ERP.
Stefan says, hey, Doc, I'm doing ERP and the thoughts now come only in my free time and when I'm relaxing. What can I do to stop these thoughts, because they're really giving me headaches when I am free? Well, there's a problem word in that statement there. Tracie?
Yes. So you're doing ERP, it's free time, and when I'm relaxing. Oh, so what should you be doing in your free time and when you are relaxing to keep your thoughts quiet?
Yeah.
You've done ERP.
The word stop is a problem, right?
Yep.
A big problem. We aren't here to teach you how to stop thoughts. I will be the first to tell you, I don't know how to get people to stop having thoughts. I have no idea. I'm clueless on it. We could try. All right, Stefan, stop thinking about OCD.
You made me think about it.
All right. It made Tracie think about her. So it's quite the opposite. Stefan, I'm going to bet when you go into a relaxing situation, even if you're not very conscious about it, there's a part of you that's like, oh my God, I hope OCD doesn't pop into my head now that I'm going into it. Just like people who have white coat syndrome, whose blood pressure is fine for 3 months, who show up at the doctor and the blood pressure comes out, cuff comes out, and then suddenly, bam, their blood pressure jumps to like 200 over 100, right? Why? Because they're hoping that they don't have a bad blood pressure. And now all that anxiety is there and it's created. So, Stefan, the problem isn't how do you stop the thoughts? That's not the issue. The issue is how do you learn to be okay with the fact that they're going to be there? That's where you got to go.
Do some more ERP. You already know how to do it. So you know what? Maybe you have to spend some of your free time doing more of it.
Exactly. That's what we got to do.
And maybe stop telling yourself, when I relax, OCD bothers me. Sounds like you're setting yourself up a little bit there.
Right. Hey, we've hit the 2/3 mark, which means once again, today's webinar brought to you by NoCD. NoCD, a downloadable app you get in Google Play or iOS. Reach out to us at nocd.com or treatmyocd.com. We are available across the US of A. Canada is growing soon. We got some announcements coming out soon from more Canada, so we're excited about that. Australia and the UK. So check us out, and we're happy to utilize our teletherapy network for all of you. Hannah says, any advice for when OCD really latches onto things and events as proof of your obsessions?
What kind of proof does OCD ever provide? See, I think that's just a false statement there. What do we do when OCD latches onto things as proof of your obsession? So I'm going to go with, this is probably a situation where you're looking back and trying to remember things that you may or may not be able to remember. And maybe OCD is filling in the blanks for you. I didn't record my whole life, every moment. So I try very hard not to go back and figure out if something happened, did it not happen? Is there proof it happened? Is there proof it didn't happen? Because we don't have good memories. I don't know what I had for lunch last Thursday, and I most certainly don't know what happened before last Thursday. So I just avoid that sticky, slippery slope that OCD likes to set up.
Yeah. OCD will also take little inferences and blow them up as fact, right? So let's say my obsession is, if I don't say a prayer, somebody that I know, or somebody who knows someone I know will die, right? And I wake up this morning and I was in a rush, so maybe I didn't say any prayers or I said a quick one. And then later I find out my fourth cousin's best friend died today. Well, my OCD could say, well, that's because you didn't say your prayers this morning. You're responsible for the death of that person. It is all your fault. So you better go to that funeral now and walk up to the family and say, I know you've never met me before, but I just want you to know that the reason your loved one died is because I didn't pray last Thursday morning. It's my fault, and I'd like to apologize to you for that. Now, that family at that point might say, call 911. There's someone here who either is telling us they killed our relative, or there's someone here saying they have superpowers and they're the reason, and maybe they need to go to the hospital or something like that, right?
Sounds like superpowers.
Yeah. There's the lie of OCD. You have superpowers if you do what OCD wants you to do.
Yep. Years ago, I had somebody who would spin in circles to make sure planes didn't crash. And we went outside and we didn't spin in circles and we watched planes go by and they didn't crash. I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
He was.
He was?
He was very surprised. I was like, look at that. All the planes are going by. It's weird how you have no control over planes.
Wow. Isn't it amazing when we learn that OCD is a liar?
Yeah.
OCD does not have our best interest in heart. It has its own best interest in heart. OCD does not care about your friends or your family or your loved ones or your neighbors or or anybody. OCD just cares about its own self becoming satisfied. And if you don't satisfy OCD, then everybody is fair game to beat the crap out of until you finally give in to the OCD, because OCD is going to use anything it can to get you to satisfy itself. And your job is to finally say, I'm not going to give you that cookie, OCD, no matter how much you want it. No cookies for you. You can't have it. We're done with the cookies.
That's right. Not even a chocolate chip.
Not even a morsel. Nothing. Let's see. Thanks for the talk. Is it possible to do ERP for GAD? If yes, what exposures do you recommend? Well, of course. You can do the opposite of worrying, right? So if GAD involves a great deal of worry about something, you could do the very opposite of worrying. You could wish for something to happen. So if you find yourself often worrying about, what if this horrible thing happens to a family member today? And really the biggest difference you would see in GAD and OCD is people in GAD stop at the worrying. People with OCD go on to do the compulsion. It's a way to try to neutralize the worry. That's one way to kind of think about it. It's very simplified, but it's one way to think about it. So wish for the bad thing to happen and then go live your life and see what happens. I did this years ago with somebody with OCD, but I think it fits kind of in the GAD piece as well too. I worked with somebody who was afraid of, if they had a negative thought about their parents, that their parents would be killed at the end of the day by their higher power. So I grabbed a card out of my wallet and I wrote on the back of it, I hope my parents die tonight, please God, and put a 666 on it. And I stuck it in my wallet, and it has now been in there for 16 years. And my parents are still alive. So they will die at one point, but I'm going to go with, it's not because I wrote that on the card. It's because they're human and humans die. So
Weird.
Yeah, I know. Weird. Yeah. I mean, could it be because of the card? Maybe 0.0000000, 9 million and a half zeros and then a one. Maybe, who knows? I mean, I can't give you a definite yes or no on something, but I'm going to go with, I see no proof of it. So I'm going to go with that, right? But that's the way that it is. But yeah, you can absolutely turn a worry into an exposure by often behaving or doing or wishing for the opposite type of thing. Virginia says, I'm at the point where I've had less anxiety from my intrusive thoughts. Now I get either depressed, angry, or both from them. Does that mean I believe my thoughts? A little bit of reassurance seeking there. Let's just be honest, Virginia, right? So there's a little of that, but that's okay. Here's what we're going to answer about it then. We know this. OCD plays a trick on everybody in OCD treatment. And that trick is, now that these thoughts don't bother you, you must really believe them and love them and want them. And maybe your depression and anger is because now you have to accept the fact that you like this thought, right? Or believe it or something. So I get no anger over the thought that I wrote down on that card. I get no anger over thinking that my parents are going to die tonight. Zero anger whatsoever. And I'm not going to do a compulsion as a way to neutralize that either, right? I'm just going to sit with the fact that I have that thought on a card in my wallet and it's been there for 16 years and I'm not going to do anything to get rid of it. So I think that what you want to recognize is that maybe this depression and anger and everything is still all part of the OCD, right? And your core fear is maybe if you believe a thought. Well, Tracie, what do we say about thoughts?
I mean, they're just thoughts.
Can they make anything happen?
Not that I've discovered. No, so far I'm going strong here. Nothing. 41 years. None of the thoughts have come to fruition. Nope.
Let's Tracie, you and everybody listening. I want everyone to look up at the ceiling, or at, if you don't have a ceiling right above you, at something near you. And I want you to wish for it to collapse on you in the next 10 seconds. Go. Tracie, you still appear to be here. I am still here. No damage has occurred. Our superpowers have failed us once again.
Darn. I even said a small prayer just in case it was gonna, it didn't work though either.
Yeah. Oh. But a small prayer to have it happen even?
Yeah. I was like, yeah, come on. Please let the roof fall.
Yeah. So every time that we put OCD to the test, it fails. But its response is always, yeah, but what if the next time is the time? What if next time is the time? Right? And we don't have to listen to it. Can I do the cognitive correction the second day after ERP, or do I have to do it after 1 hour and a half? I don't know that you have to do really much cognitive correction at all. Aaliyah, I think that you could just allow yourself to do the ERP and live with the response prevention, and that's okay.
Yep.
Daniela says, good evening. Any advice for ERP regarding just right images? I'm in treatment now, and my OCD is trying to tell me that certain images that pop into my head have to be pictured in a specific way.
Sounds like OCD.
Yeah. What would happen if they weren't?
I bet they're not always.
Yeah. I mean, I would even, maybe if you can find something very similar to the image that pops in your head, print it out and then post it crooked or sideways, or when the printer is printing, pull the paper a little bit on either side so it kind of smudges it a little bit, and then post that up on a wall right in front of you that you're seeing all day long, so that you're dealing with that constantly.
Absolutely. I had somebody print out a picture the other day, cut it completely in 2 spaces, so they had 3 separate parts of the picture, and tape it together incorrectly. Ooh. And hang it up. And it didn't even look like anything anymore. It was a hot mess. I don't even know what it was.
That's awesome. Suddenly I have an echo. Do you hear an echo with me?
No.
Okay. Suddenly I have an echo. That's all right. Next we got a yay Tracie from Elaine. So Elaine is throwing a yay at you.
Thanks, Elaine. Elaine also said to let you know that she appreciates everything that you do for the OCD community, FYI.
Well, thank you, Elaine. I appreciate that. Salams says, our OCD is a bit unusual. Okay. My obsessions center around thoughts that my partner is lying to me, not unusual, cannot be trusted, not unusual, etc. Is this something you've heard about, and any aspect of treatment different? Yeah, we hear about it all the time.
Yeah.
Our OCD will pick on anything that it can about a relationship, right?
Yep.
So what if my partner's lying to me? What if my partner can't be trusted? Look at those other partners and what they do. I don't notice that we're doing that in our relationship. Maybe they trust each other more than we do. Maybe she's not very trustworthy, or he's not very trustworthy, or whatever. So Labs, here's what I would say. Do you have to believe whatever pops into your head as truth? Or can you just recognize it and move on? I love to get people to do this. Acknowledge and move on. Right? Acknowledge and move on. That's what I do with, going back to the tinnitus. That's what I do with my tinnitus. I acknowledge it and I move on. My tinnitus has been here the entire time from earlier today when we were talking about it. It has not stopped. And guess what? I didn't hear it again until I just said tinnitus again. So even though it's always there, I don't always hear it. Right?
Same with my OCD. Runs in the background. I don't always notice it, but if I think too much, I will notice it.
Skin picking. Tips or techniques? Well, guess what? NoCD is starting to treat the BFRBs now, excoriation and trichotillomania. So, Darla, if you're looking for some help with that, reach out to us at nocd.com. We have trained our therapists in various areas to work with that. So please reach out to us and let us help you with that. Steve says, I keep getting when I get bad thoughts around religious places, and I might hurt people I know. What can I do? I would purposely go to religious places, think thoughts that are uncomfortable, and see if you actually hurt anyone.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
That's what I would do too. I would probably also keep like a sharp pair of scissors in the car. After I did it the first time and found out I didn't hurt anybody, maybe I would bring something with me just to prove that I wasn't going to do that.
I used to, I get bored very easily in church. So I used to stare at the lights for a little while until it kind of burned that image in your eye. And then I would blink and it would like pop a laser beam on, and I would see people from my grade school that I didn't like. And I would just shoot laser beams with my eyes through church. So it's like, laser beam.
Perfect. Sounds like you were a very harmful child in church, hurting people with your laser beams.
Yes, boy. No one survived church when I went because the laser beams were just flying all over the place. I don't know how anybody's alive if I went to church. Now I think people are just afraid lightning will hit the church if I show, but who knows? Yeah. Emily says, how do I stop picking my skin and hair? I can't stop pulling my hair and pulling the split ends. I keep picking my face and then it breaks out. Well, again, Emily, there's a great kind of therapy called habit reversal. And habit reversal teaches you how to use some compensatory techniques, some blocking techniques so that you don't go reaching for it. You might pull on something like a koosh ball. You might put a barrier on like a glove or a Band-Aid. Sometimes people don't notice they're doing it. And so suddenly they look down and there's a pile of hair because they didn't even realize that they were pulling or picking at skin or something like that. So sometimes it's bringing it into recognition for people too, so that they learn that they're doing it, when they're doing it, and putting in some of these barriers to prevent people and bring conscious awareness to it so that now it's more of a choice to do it than it is something that I just naturally do without even thinking about it. And then when it gets to that choice point, okay, I have the choice now to pull my hair or do something else. What can I do instead of pulling my hair? What's a healthier alternative to do than hair pulling and getting people to work on that? Tracie, this one's for you. Can you talk about parents of adult children with contamination OCD and how they can help?
Sure. I have adult children with OCD.
That's why I thought maybe this would be good for you.
So, I mean, a couple of things. I don't know if the kid lives with you, doesn't live with you, but in general, don't make their OCD easy for them to keep. You know, if they are asking you to do certain things to accommodate their contamination OCD, do you have to prepare food in a certain way, only serve it on certain things? Do you have something special going on at your house that allows the child, adult child, to kind of get away the contamination OCD to stay alive? You have to stop doing those things to accommodate that. So I don't have a lot of information about exactly what's going on there, but like Dr. McGrath was saying, we offer ERP therapy at NoCD, but we also offer parent coaching. So, you can come on down and give us the specifics and kind of learn more about that. But really, it's not making OCD comfortable in your house. So whatever you're doing to make it easy, providing reassurance, providing alternate stuff. I have a mom who opens the fridge for her kid. I said, stop opening the fridge. But she won't get food. Oh, she'll get hungry enough. She'll go in the fridge. Sure enough, mom stopped opening the fridge. The kid went in the fridge eventually, I was an adult kid, by the way. So yeah, that would be my best recommendation for you. Make OCD uncomfortable and don't feel bad about it. I've always said, hey, I'm on your side, not OCD's side. That's why we do what we do here.
As always, it's always a pleasure to be here with all of you and to have a guest, Tracie. Thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. It was a blast. Great.
Thanks for having me.
Would you like to give a little closing remark or inspiration to everyone tonight before we go into our Paul Melia theme song?
Sure. Yeah. I just want to say, don't lose hope. It doesn't matter how long you've had OCD, how short, what your theme is, how difficult it is for you, if you feel like it's the worst thing you've ever seen. We have certainly seen it all at NoCD. I'm sure of it. If we haven't, then I would be shocked. Go get help. and just stay the course and know that you can live a life and you can live a valuable life. Don't let OCD rob you of the life you want to live and be the person that you want to be.
Couldn't agree more. OCD is a liar, doesn't tell the truth, and it only cares about itself. So everybody, remember that. Please remember the fact that you are fighting against something that isn't able to actually hurt you, but can threaten you all day long. And just because it threatens you doesn't mean that you have to listen to it or believe it. Well, once again, thanks for joining us on our NoCD webinar. NoCD, www.nocd.com or treatmyocd.com. Reach out to us if you're looking for teletherapy. And remember, now we're doing things like trichotillomania and skin picking and hoarding and all sorts of great stuff. Tics is work too. So reach out to us. Let us see how we can help you. Have a great night, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Good night.